there, and welcome. So, today, we're going to tackle something called inequalities. Now, I know it sounds like a big, scary math word, but trust me, the idea behind it is super simple and you actually use it all the time. So let's just dive right in.
All right, so have you ever seen these guys before? The less than, greater than, all that stuff? They may look a little strange, right? But these are the inequality signs, and their job is actually really simple. They just help us talk about numbers when they aren't, well, equal. And today, we're going to figure out exactly what each one means.
You actually see these things in real life constantly. You just might not realize it. Think about this. To watch a PG-13 movie, your age, let's just call it X for now, has to be 13 or older, right? Well, in math, we have a super quick way to write that. We just say X is greater than or equal to 13. See that? An inequality is just like a secret code, a really simple code for writing down a rule. So what is an inequality officially? Well, it's just a math sentence, and all it says is that two things are not equal. That's it. It's all about showing the relationship between them. You know, is one number bigger? Is one smaller? Or maybe it could be equal? That's what these symbols tell us.
Okay, let's break down the four main symbols you're going to see. First up, we have is less than. Easy enough. Then you've got its opposite, is greater than. Now here's the cool part. See that little line underneath the next two? That little line just means or equal to. So the third symbol means is less than or equal to, and the last one means is greater than or equal to. That's literally it. That's the whole secret. All right, so now that we know what the symbols mean, we've got to learn how to, use them. There are a few simple rules, so let's get into part one. So, to figure out the rules, let's start with something we absolutely know is true. Ready? 2 is less than 4. We all agree on that, right? Of course, it's a simple, true fact. We're going to use this little fact to test out some ideas and discover our first rule. Okay, let's do a little experiment. What happens if we add the same number, let's say 3, to both sides? So on one side, we get 2 plus 3, which is 5, and on the other side, we have 4 plus 3, which is 7. So now our new math sentence is 5 is less than 7. Is that still true? Yeah, it totally is. The sign didn't change at all. And that right there, that brings us to our very first rule. It's super straightforward. If you add or subtract the same exact number from both sides of an inequality, the sign doesn't change. It just stays the way it was. Easy peasy. Okay, awesome. You've got the first rule down. Now let's move on to part 2 of the rules. So what about multiplying and dividing? Is it going to work the same way? Let's find out. Let's go back to our good old friend 2 is less than 4. It's always true. But this time, let's try multiplying both sides. Let's use a positive number. How about we multiply by 2? What do you think is going to happen to that less than sign? Is it going to stay, or is it going to change? Well, let's do the math and see what happens. On the left, 2 times 2 is 4. On the right, 4 times 2 is 8. So now we have 4 is less than 8. Is that true? Yep, it's still true. The sign stayed exactly the same again. And would you look at that? We've got our second rule. When you multiply or divide both sides by a positive number, the sign stays the same. It doesn't flip, it doesn't change, nothing. Now, notice I'm really stressing the word positive. That's a huge hint for what's coming next. All right, everybody, deep breaths. It's time for the one tricky rule. This is it. This is the most important part of this whole lesson. If you can remember this one thing, you're going to be a pro at inequalities. So you ready? Let's do this. Okay, one last time, let's bring back our 2 is less than 4. But we're going to throw a curveball this time. What happens if we multiply both sides by a negative number? Let's try multiplying by -2. What do you think happens now? This is where it gets interesting. So on the left side, 2 times -2 is -4. And on the right, 4 times -2 is -8. Okay, stop. We have to be really, really careful here. We have -4 and -8. Which symbol goes in the middle? Is -4 times less than -8, or is it greater than -8? Just think about a thermometer. What's warmer, -4 degrees or -8 degrees? Yeah, -4 is warmer, right? It's closer to 0. So that means -4 is the bigger number. So we have to say -4 is greater than -8. Whoa, look at that. Our sign started as less than, but to keep the sentence true, we had to flip it to greater than. It completely turned around.
And that, my friends, is the big, important, tricky rule. This is the one you have to burn into your brain. Let's say it together. Whenever you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality sign. So less than becomes greater than, and greater than becomes less than. You just flip it right over.
Phew. Okay, that was honestly the hardest part. You made it. Now that we know all the rules, let's actually put them to work and solve a problem together. We'll go step by step, no worries. All right, check out this problem. We need to solve for x in 2x plus 1 is greater than 9. Remember, the whole goal here is just to get x all by itself on one side. So what's our first move? Let's get rid of that plus 1. We'll subtract 1 from both sides. That leaves us with 2x is greater than 8. Now, did we do anything with a negative number? Nope, just subtraction, so the sign stays the same. Okay, next step. To get x alone, we have to divide by 2. And is 2 a positive or negative number? It's positive. So again, the sign does not flip, and we get our final answer, x is greater than 4. And look at that, you did it, we solved it. So what does x is greater than 4 actually mean? Well, it just means that any number bigger than 4 will work in our original problem. So like 5 would work, 100 would work, even a tiny number like 4.1 would work. But would 4 itself work? No, because 4 isn't greater than 4, it's equal. See how that works? Okay, let's do a super quick recap. The key things to remember. First, inequalities are just for comparing things that aren't equal. Second, adding or subtracting is the easy part. The sign never changes. Same goes for multiplying or dividing by a positive number. The sign stays put. But the big rule, the most important one, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, what do? You flip the sign every single time. You did an awesome job today. Seriously, you just learned a brand new, really useful math skill. So my final question for you is this. Now that you know the rules, where else are you going to see these inequalities in your daily life? I mean, think about speed limits on the highway or the height requirements for a roller coaster. I bet you're going to start seeing them everywhere now. Thanks so much for learning with me today.